Hmm. There we go.
Larry, I just made you a co-host. Just let me know when you're ready to share your screen and I'll stop sharing mine and then you can start sharing yours.
Okay, very good.
And also just a heads up for everyone who's on the call, we are trying something new to try and reduce the number of videos we need to edit. We're going to live stream to YouTube.
Watch
So
out.
just a heads up on that. You're live.
We're now influencers. Blow up. We got about 2 minutes.
Larry, hi.
Hey, Ryan.
I've just emailed you an image that was provided to me by Holly. And you may have this already from the group, but Holly thought it would be good for you to have it.
Okay.
It's just a comparison of 2 bridge designs that the committee looked at. And I would imagine that the friends have already shared this with you, but it's just a last moment.
Okay, no, this is good. I did pull some information off the Friends website today. The 3-lane option one, I hadn't seen. Okay, very good. Additional information.
Okay. It's 2 o'clock, so I'll call us to order at 2 o'clock. I will call the roll, and if I call your name, please give us the city, county, and state that you are in currently. Brenda Marcy, I know she's going to be late due to a library meeting. I don't see Kathy. Kathy Meridian? No Kathy? Okay. Cindy Osman?
Here, Saugatuck City, Allegan County, Michigan.
Thank you. Ken Truster is driving back from Florida. He has an excused absence. Hey, Kathy. Jerry Donovan has an excused absence. He's in the Caribbean. John Adams.
Here, Fenville, Allegan County.
Okay. And Richard Donovan.
Here, Fenville, Allegan County.
Thank you. Kathy Meridian. Oh, I saw Kathy. She might be having trouble with their Zoom. Oh. Kathy?
Okay, I'm in now. Sorry, I had a little trouble. I'm here.
Same thing happened to me. I got spit out and had to rejoin. Kathy, are you in Douglas?
I just got here, yeah. I'm running late, but just walked in the door.
Okay, so Douglas, Allegan County, because we have to add that now.
Oh, okay.
And let the record reflect that our ex officio members, Joe Fry, Ryan Heiss, and Nick Wicker. Nick is filling in for Rich LeBombard, are in attendance. And Nick's name is, Kathy, Nick's name is spelled NickWikar.
Yeah, I know Nick. Thank you.
Same city. Sorry about that. Okay, next I'm going to call for an approval of the agenda. Are there any addition to today's agenda? If not, can I call for a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Second?
Seconded.
Okay, that was first Cindy and second was Richard Donovan. And now we have approval of minutes. We
I
have,
think we need to do a roll call.
do we I always skip a roll call? All right. So Kathy Meridian,
Yes,
Cindy Osmond,
Yes,
John Adams,
Yes,
Richard Donovan,
Yes.
and I think that's it because we're still down from Brenda Marcy. So, okay. That's good. All right. Let's move on. We have, do I need to say that's moved?
You're good. You're good.
Okay.
You got the votes.
Thank you. Now we're going to approve the minutes. We have the minutes from April 9th. Do I have any changes to the minutes from April 9th? No changes. Can I call for a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, second?
I'll second. John Adams.
Okay. Hi, Brenda Marcy. Brenda Marcy's joining us.
I'm here.
Thank you for coming. We're just approving the minutes. Then we have to take the roll call to approve the minutes because we really like roll calls. So Brenda,
Yes.
Kathy Meridian,
Yes,
Cindy Osmond,
yes,
John Adams,
Yes,
Richard Donovan.
Yes.
Okay, so the minutes are approved. Or, yes, the minutes are approved. I just want to say that one of our committee's biggest fans is Bob Etter. He's a citizen that has joined us for every meeting we have held. He even wrote a very kind letter to the paper praising this committee's work thus far, sadly unpublished. Bob has brought it to my attention that in the March 5 minutes, we spelled his name E-D-A-R instead of E-D-E-R. And I'm so sorry about that, Bob. My mistake, because I know your last name. So the correct spelling is noted going forward, and we're glad you're joining us today. I'm going to move on to public comments. At this time, we welcome any members of the public to comment, limited to today's agenda topics and 3 minutes or under. Do we have anyone that would like to speak? Nope. Okay. We have no unfinished business. So next, I'm very happy to ask Larry Fox, principal of C2AE, to begin the engineering kickoff, looking at the scope of our trail. And Larry would like us to feel free to ask questions or interject as he goes. So I give you the Zoom floor, Larry.
Okay, thank you. And good afternoon, everyone. It's good to be here. So I want to try to cover things in detail today, but not too much detail to keep you in tuned and engaged. So as Holly mentioned, feel free to ask questions as we go. So what I did send in advance the project management plan. That project management plan is a little more detailed than our typical ones, but I thought that was important in this case, and I think it's a good reference tool. So we're considering that draft, and then we'll refine it at today's meeting and go through that. So I want to go through the project management plan with the items that are highlighted. Then we'll go back and summarize previous information. which we had a meeting on Wednesday, and we're able to go through quite a bit of that. And so I think we've got a pretty good focus, and I've tried to make notes here as we go. And we'll talk about the alternative review process, and then any project-specific outreach and communications and meetings, and then discuss a site review meeting that we're tentatively planning for Monday, May 17th, I'm sorry. And we'll go from there. So with that, I'll go to the project management plan. So I don't know, did everybody get a chance to at least look through this a little bit? I know it was very long and detailed, but okay, good. And again, I don't want to go through everything. Anyone have any problem with the goals and objectives that were stated? Okay. So yeah, basically to review options, develop schematic plans and cost opinions, and gaining consensus for routing of the 3 segments of the Blue Star Trail. And I did forget to attach the map to this project management plan, but I do have it here. So this is the same as created for the request for qualifications for the engineering selection.
Larry,
Yeah, go ahead.
Larry, it's Richard. Just I would say one of the goals and objectives also in this first phase is to come up with the 2 grant applications and have them filed. So you do cover that later in the plan, but it seems to me that is a goal and objective of what we're doing.
Yeah. Yes. I'll get into that and add to this as we go, or after the meeting and before we finalize. That's a very good point. That is the culmination of the project, Richard. So we'll add that. I've gone a little too far. I forgot to mention that Corey Davis, the assistant project manager in this project, is joining us by phone. See his name down there, Corey. He had to leave the office. He's head of construction engineering, and of course, during this time of year, a lot of things come up on project sites, and he had to attend one today. So he's joining by phone. And then Rusty Owens, who you met during the interview, was planning to attend, but he's ill today. And then Emily Meyerson is on a whitewater rafting trip somewhere. I'm not sure if it's in the US or not, but she's gone 3 weeks, so not able to participate from where she's at. But she will certainly be integral to the project and kept up to date. All right, the scope,
Hey,
I don't
Larry?
want to go, yeah.
It's Ryan. Just so, for the benefit of the committee, we did include the map in the packets on the last page of the packet. So
Oh, good.
we do have it in there. And we'll try to include that in every packet going forward.
Okay, this scope was just kind of a little background information, talking about some specifics. I highlighted really the key things I think in here. So we're in the schematic, what we call schematic design phase, schematic design and grant application phase. So initial scoping meeting is really kind of what we're having now. So it's the purpose is to review, goals and objectives, roles, and kind of get more specific about the process that we intend to utilize. Gather existing data. So we've already started on this, and we've got a wealth of information we've accumulated and are still cataloging. I did go to the Friends website today and was able to download some of the other information, like the schematic drawings and renderings and some information on traffic plans. So that's good. We will also then obtain whatever, GIS and LiDAR information, parcel mapping. So those have yet to be done. Soil types, all the information that's kind of readily available on the internet. We'll be looking for any, we already have federal and state guidelines for requirements for trail development. But if there are any local ordinances or local information that we need to be aware of, we'd like to receive that as well. I'm not sure if your zoning and planning ordinances are on each of your respective websites. If so, what I think we'll do is we'll visit those websites and gain that information. If we can't find it, we'll let you know. We are teaming with Cardno for historical features, so they will do a quick desktop review for any potential archaeological sites as well as threatened or endangered species. Something that to be aware of as we're planning the process. And then each community, if you have any potential infrastructure work that might be ongoing in any of these areas in the next several years, it certainly would be good for us to know that. Okay. Conduct an initial visual site assessment. So we have some of the background information from the previous design efforts and planning efforts. So what we intend to do is probably plot out drawings of the most relevant alternatives and bring those with us to the site assessment. I've got a team of 4 people that'll be attending for C2AE. One's a structural engineer, one's a civil engineer, and one's a transportation engineer, as well as myself. So we're going to want to go through these and look at these in detail, and then, basically during this site analysis, be looking for all of these types of impacts to our planning effort. And so anyone is welcome to join us in that walkthrough of the site, and especially if you have some, information or anything to add or educate us about some of the alternatives that have already been discussed or background information. So I would imagine we will meet probably, where would be a good parking spot for the bridge area?
Let's see.
On the Douglas side, near Point Pleasant, there's some good parking, and also near Swing Bridge.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know if we want to meet at one particular spot, maybe the north end of the bridge or south end of the bridge, whatever you guys think would be best.
Yeah, let's, on the Douglas side, I think
Okay.
the Swing Bridge, I think, don't you think, Nick?
Yeah, there's probably better parking on the Point Pleasant side, so that'd be at the terminus of Washington Street, right at the bridge there. There's a public parking area.
I
It's probably
agree.
best.
Mhm.
Okay,
And Larry,
yeah.
I think the best thing to do would be to send out an invite with a specific location. And I think if we have a quorum, we actually will need to advertise the meeting. So
all right, good point.
I'll be looking out for that. If we don't have a quorum, we don't need to advertise it, but we'll probably just advertise it for good measure, just in case people show up. So just a heads up, we will need a specific meeting spot at a specific time.
Okay. Is there any objection to May 17th at 9 a.m.? Okay, great. Okay, so, obviously we have several areas that we need to evaluate, from the bridge up to Lake Street and Lake Street to Old Allegan and then North Street, or is it Amalanchier Park? Is that how you pronounce that? Close enough.
Cindy, how do you pronounce it? Almansheer? You're muted. I can't hear you.
Cindy, you're still muted.
Sorry about that. The mouse gets away from me sometimes. Alamancheer, is that how I pronounce it? I don't really know the correct way. I've heard it several times, but it's
Okay.
close. We know what we're
Close
talking
enough.
about. We call it, sometimes they call it Mosquito Park.
Fun. Okay. All right. Then there's also, as part of our ongoing process, we do plan to attend, and we had mentioned 2 or 3 meetings with the committee. I actually envision that I will participate in more than that and try to give you Basically, we're going to give you a written progress report, at least on a monthly basis, but I would also then give you a verbal update. If we don't have any decisions to make or alternatives to evaluate and discuss in specifics, then I can still attend and just give you a heads up of what we're doing and what's going on.
Great.
Okay, and go ahead. Okay, and so what we envision, we talked about this a little bit. I can't remember exactly which meeting it was. So the committee will be, I guess, the ones that we interact with as C2AE, and the ones that obviously will make the initial recommendations for then each municipality's approval. So, you know, we don't want to forget that part of the process, but it will be important for this committee for us to gain consensus so that the committee can be very supportive of the alternatives that we're going to propose to each municipality. So that's our job as being part of the committee, is to try to gain that consensus. So when we move forward, we're all pretty uniform in that support, and then makes it easier for convincing the municipalities of our direction. Okay. Gather emergency responder input. We know this is an important part of the project. So after our initial evaluation of alternatives, that will be one of the first things we'll want to do, is to gain that input and also, again, consensus. MDOT local agency programs are the ones that are in charge of the TAP grant. And so even though it's not an MDOT owned bridge, it's obviously owned by the Road Commission. For them to provide funding, we do have to meet their requirements. And so that will be an important part of the review process as well. I envision, go ahead.
Sorry, the bridge is actually owned by the two cities.
Okay. Okay.
Hey,
So
Craig,
then,
great to see that you're on the call, Craig. Thank you.
No
yeah. So Craig, you just own then from north of the bridge?
Actually, our jurisdiction starts at Maple Street
Okay.
to the north, and then 129th Avenue south. So south of the city of the Village of Douglas. And then I want to say that, maybe somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the bridge is split 50-50 between Douglas and Saugatuck.
That's
That's
my
my-
understanding.
Correct. That's my understanding as well.
Great. Okay. So then the city of Saugatuck has jurisdiction over the Blue Star Highway up to Maple. And then
That's correct.
Saugatuck Township north of 129th Street. Is that right?
Say that again?
So the Blue Star Highway north of 129th Street is the township. So that would be still county, right?
North of 129th would be the city of the Village of Douglas. And then it would stop, their limits would stop halfway across the bridge over the Kalamazoo. And it would become the city of Saugatuck up to Maple Street.
Okay.
And back to Road Commission again, north of there.
All right. We'll have to put a map together so I can keep that straight. All right. Talk about public information meetings here. So each of your committee meetings obviously are advertised and are open to the public. So that's good. And we know that from the committee, we will also have to go to each municipality's meetings to gain approval to proceed with portions of the project. So then as we go through this project, we can decide or talk about whether there's a need or desire to have additional public forums for disseminating information or gaining input. And that can be actually in terms of, like online surveys or, actual meetings but whatever we come up with to make sure we're engaging the public sufficiently as we go through.
Larry,
Yep.
a quick question on that. Not only does that make sense, but I think it's a big part of the grant submittal, right? They're going to be looking for that the public has been engaged. And I think the better job we do of that, the stronger we score.
That is correct.
Larry, it's Richard. Just to help the managers and the elected officials looking ahead, between now and when we hope to submit the first grant application in October, how many times would you expect them to have to go to their governing bodies? I think we had always assumed that they would have to approve the grant applications before they get submitted on their behalf. But would there likely be one or more times before that where you would think we want to go to them at an official meeting to get some kind of approval of some stage?
I do. Here's what I think first needs to happen is, so our monthly progress reports that we're providing to the committee, those representatives from each community hopefully will share that progress report with the rest of their board, and then perhaps have time in their agendas to discuss any items, just to keep everyone apprised and have the opportunity to ask questions. So I think that's one way to keep each municipality's governing body kind of up to speed. And then if there's any specific, I guess, issues that come up that we as a group feel would be appropriate for me to participate in any of the municipalities meetings, I can do that as well. So that when I necessarily set a schedule, we know we have to get adoption by each board, so that, and have a public hearing. So we can either talk about doing a joint one, which probably would be a bit problematic, or individual ones, and each board individually pass the resolutions of adoption of support. So we'll kind of work that out as we go. And then obviously funding applications are the ultimate endpoint of the first phase of this project, and hopefully successful, if not at least well prepared. Okay, the schedule I have put together with Emily's assistance. It's quite detailed, and it's kind of specific to both individual grant applications and then joint. So we kind of list which grant this is important to, and then sometimes it's both. So obviously, we really have to have everything decided for October's grant application, because April's grant application will be based on that same. So obviously we can't have two different projects we're submitting for. The only thing I might say about that is for TAP, we have to think about now jurisdiction. We do want one applicant for the TAP, and it has to be an Act 51 entity. So we'll have to think about that now that I know that each entity owns a portion of this. And that, of course, the trust fund perhaps has an opportunity for individual applications from each entity for their portion of the trail too. So another thing we want to keep in mind, it doesn't necessarily have to be just one trust fund application.
Hey, Larry.
Yep.
And this question is for Richard, and probably more so for Craig. It was my understanding that the road commission would act as the Act 51. I'm sorry, what is the
Act 51 agency, right?
Act 51 agency in the submittal, but they didn't. They're going to have a number of kind of subservient agreements that get them out of the construction management portion. And Richard or Craig, correct me if I'm wrong on that.
I don't know if we've really, I know we haven't really committed to doing anything within the city limits. I mean, the cities could be the Act 51 applicants and recipients of the grant money. We've, I would say, are pretty supportive of being the Act 51 agency in the township, you know, once you get outside the city limits. And if there's a application or the project is done so that it encompasses both jurisdictions, I guess that's something we'd have to discuss.
Okay, that's a detail that needs to be worked out.
Yeah, I guess my personal preference is I'd rather not be if a project is solely within city limits. But yeah,
Right,
we can discuss that.
Yeah, I think as Craig indicated, we've certainly talked about the road commission being the Act 51 applicant, but they had not committed to that. Just for everybody's information, we recently communicated with the TAP grant coordinator for our region, which is Kathy Samsell. She reiterated that for any TAP application, there can only be a single applicant, and that applicant, of course, must be eligible. Townships and other stakeholders and jurisdictions can partner with the applicant. And the road commission could be an applicant for an application project area that includes the township and the two cities. And in the past, Kathy has said to us that they prefer that this all be handled as one project with one application. And so that was kind of the way we were envisioning it.
Okay, so it sounds like a separate meeting with Craig to kind of go through those, Larry and Craig to kind of go through those details.
Yeah, and perhaps Kathy Samsell as well might be interested in attending that. So yeah, whatever MDOT feels is going to give us the most leverage and success, then that's the way we want to go. Okay,
Thank you.
Good information. Okay, so really, I'm going to boil it down to August to September is really when we have to have things pretty well decided. So we have until August, September to evaluate the alternatives, have a good idea of costs, and know the direction we want to go, because this is when we're going to need to gain more public input, as well as make sure each of the individual community boards are on board with this, project. So not a lot of time. It sounds maybe it sounds like a lot of time, but in this world it's not. So that's going to be key. I will probably go on each community's websites and look for when council or commission meetings are held and try to work that into our schedule so that we know that and try not to have special meetings. And we'll see how that works out. So there's more to be added to this, but this is really what the grants drive. And then in addition to this schedule, we just provided a lot of detail on each of the different grant applications and what some of the items that are included are important for those, just for a knowledge base. So like I said, this is a little more detail than we normally get into in these project management plans, but I think this is going to be an important reference for you all to refer back to when we talk about these. So again, we just talked about the Act 51 agency for TAP, and so I don't want to go through all these in detail today unless anyone has any specific questions. Okay, very good. They're there for you to go through and review. All right, financial plan. So sooner or later, we're going to get a signed agreement for a not to exceed fee of $39,400 for this initial phase. I'm assuming that, right, Ryan?
Yeah, they've been all approved, and yeah, that's on me to get you those signed agreements. So
Okay.
top priority next week.
A little bit of a joke. I was not too worried about it. Okay, our team organization, resources, and responsibilities. So at a previous meeting, we determined that I would be the main point of contact for C2AE and that Ryan would be the main point of contact for the committee. And then we have Corey Davis, who is on the phone, assistant project manager, Rusty Owens, landscape architect, and assisting with our public outreach planning. Tyler, you and Scott, some of you saw on Wednesday. They will be the ones doing more of the detailed analysis of the alternatives and cost estimating. Steve Jerzyk, we listed, he is a project manager in our Grand Rapids office. He's an architect, but he's also a fire chief. And so he does know Chief Janice. They have had some discussions. I think Steve can provide some input into that perspective of the project. And so we'll be included in any meetings or input we need throughout the project. And then, of course, I think everyone during an interview met Emily Meyerson, also an important sub-consultant in the project. And her role is going to be in assisting with the public outreach and then actually completing the grant applications. Okay, the Tri-Community Committee, I just took off the list from your website. So if there's any corrections, let me know, or any changes. And then we've identified key stakeholders as obviously Craig Atwood, Elgin County Road Commission, and Chief Janik. So is this, he's fire chief, is it a city of Saugatuck Fire Department or is it a community, or it doesn't matter?
Tri-community.
Okay, Tri-Community. Let's see. Are there any that we're missing?
Guys, I think we may want to add our police to this. What do you all think? I think we should at least list them, the Douglas Police Chief and Lieutenant Brett Ensfield with the Allegan County Sheriff.
Good idea.
If I may make a recommendation as well, either the superintendent or someone representative maybe of community recreation.
And Larry, just for background, Saugatuck is policed. We have a contract with the Allegan County Sheriff, and
Okay.
It's Lieutenant Brett Ensfield is our contact, our community liaison, and
ours in Douglas is Steve Kent.
Okay, let's go with Holly first. So Brent or Brett?
B-R-E-N-T. Is it Brett or
Brett.
B-R-E-T? And then Ensfield, capital E-N-S Field.
Field? Okay.
Yep.
All right, and Douglas?
Pretty simple, Steve Kent.
Okay, I can handle that one. Okay, great. If someone can provide names for community recreation representatives, and it's not so much that they have to be involved in these meetings, but certainly kept aware of our progress and direction.
For the township, our park chair is Jim Searing.
S-E-A-R-I-N-G?
Yep.
Okay, and I can probably pull the others off websites or whatever we need to do.
I'm not sure who that would be in Saugatuck.
For the superintendent, it's Dr. Tim Travis, and for community recreation, I've got Scott. And I'm probably going to say this last name wrong. Kierzek.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Can I just get clarification why community rec is important, Nick? What's your thinking?
Well, just for stakeholders, and we're talking trails, I'm thinking long-term connectivity and also safe pathways to schools. So a lot of, as far as community recreation goes, the facilities that are shared by the 3 communities are also shared by the school district. So a lot of times students are going to and from different facilities for practice, and they know it a little better than we may, from City Hall or our various positions. So that's why I recommend always either a superintendent or a community rec representative.
Okay.
Yeah, and Larry, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's an angle we probably will want to bring out in the grant applications, that this trail will facilitate the safety of students getting to and from the local schools.
Okay. So I'll just put that in here as a note right now. Oops. And the other part of what's important about the community recreation is, of course, all of the recreation plans need to have this project listed in their plan. So you probably already have that since you were going to do grant applications previously, but that's something we want to be sure that that's done.
Yeah, and then for Scott under community recreation, the last name is spelled K-I-E-R-Z-E-K. And for Tim Travis, he should just be his own separate bullet point. That's Dr. Tim Travis. He's the superintendent of the schools.
Oh, school superintendent. Okay.
Yeah, so he's somewhat affiliated with community rec, but separate tier unto himself.
It's a really good call, Nick.
Thank you.
Okay. QA/QC plan. So our quality control, quality assurance plan is probably more specific when we get into design projects, but it's still something that we want to have someone not directly affiliated with the project within our company reviewing our progress and reviewing our alternatives and those types of things. So an internal vetting of as we go through, and we try to do those at 1/3, 2/3, and then nearly complete. So that's just something that will go on behind the scenes that we will do internally to make sure that myself as project manager are not too far into the weeds and not seeing a big picture item or something to that effect. So now quality definition, client approval process. This is what I put as project quality will be defined by the completion of preliminary designs and grant applications that meet the grant and local community requirements. Of course, a goal is to have a successful application, but we can't guarantee that. But we can make sure that we do have a quality application and fully meet the requirements that they set out, so it's not missing information. And then approval process. This is what I mentioned before, that initial vetting and approval by the committee, and then official approval by each of the individual municipalities' boards. Okay. Contract amendment. This goes if there were a change in scope to what we're planning to do. You ask us to do extra work. So this is something that, we would first discuss with the board, the committee, and then if it's agreeable, we would provide a written amendment to be submitted for approval by the municipality. So the same as what you're doing with our initial agreement. So we understand that we are not going to charge you for any work that we have not negotiated a scope amendment and amended fee. Communication plan, I mentioned briefly. So we do plan to do monthly progress reports. So it will have in the progress reports basically what work we have completed in the last month, what work we anticipate completing in the next month. We'll give you a bit of a budget status. We'll go through the schedule and see where we're at and make sure we're meeting our milestones. Then there will also be a section in there of information or decisions that the committee needs to make sure those stay in front of you and in your thoughts. And I'm not sure what else is in there, but that's the gist of it. So try to give everybody a good understanding. If you can't make a meeting, or like I said, sharing with your individual municipalities boards, it's a real good way to disseminate information, keep everybody up to speed. Okay, and potential risk plan, basically in this type of a situation or schematic design grant applications, we just need, because we've got a short time frame, to identify what we see as project risks as early on as we can so that they can be addressed in a timely fashion. Okay, and then this is our distribution of progress reports. I will send them probably through Ryan for distribution to the board or the committee. And then I think it'd be incumbent on each committee's, whoever they represent, to do their internal distribution with that board. So I'll leave it to you guys to figure out who does it for Saugatuck and who does it for the Friends and Douglas and Saugatuck Township. So that's the project management plan. Does anybody want to go through or go back anything? Any questions?
Yeah, Larry, it's Richard. I had one. On the bottom of page 1 of your plan, you say C2 will develop and implement an action plan. And then you explain that. I take it that's different than this management plan?
It is somewhat different than the management plan. What I envision, Richard, is more like a bar graph, and try to put a schedule together with a bar graph and identify some of the information and probably expand on this schedule that's in here. So I want to try to get key dates in there, key decision dates, those types of things. So a lot of the information that's in here will get put into that plan. Okay, anything else? Okay, this is really supposed to be a summary overview of how we're attacking this project and our perceived outcomes, obviously with the importance in the schedule in here as well. All right, very good.
Thank you so much. This is, it's really helpful, very comprehensive. And I am really looking forward to the site review. We frequently go back to the route because we have pieces of the bike trail that we're trying to connect. And I think it will be helpful for the committee and for the community to really begin to walk the trail and really know, you know, what we're working with. So I really want to thank you for your work, and very excited to have you working with us.
Great, thanks, Holly. And with regards to that site review, you know, it's really not for us to make decisions at that point. It's really an information gathering session, not only seeing things visually, but gaining the input of, you know, your local knowledge. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that as well. I did have gone through this, I mentioned to you before, a few weeks ago before the leaves came out, because I saw it was important to try to be able to see some of this before that happened. So we are looking forward to that.
Yeah, I think that will be very helpful. Committee, do we have any additional thoughts or questions, comments? No?
Holly, it's Richard. I just asked Larry, is there anything that we on the committee can or should be doing in the meantime to facilitate things and keep us on schedule?
Perhaps, let's see. The one thing from our discussion the other day is there are a couple of traffic studies supposedly out there floating around. Potentially one about the signalization of the Lake Street intersection. If anybody can get their hands on those, I would appreciate that. And then the other, I'm just going to have to go through the information we've received and see if there's anything in addition to that. Now, if you feel it's appropriate, I wouldn't mind you sharing the project management plan with any of the other stakeholders that you think might be interested. There's nothing secret about it, so, and it might also provide some background information for them.
do that. And also, I probably should, maybe it's premature, but I think it's good to talk about the traffic lights when we had our pre-meeting for today's committee meeting. C2AE will be looking at the possibly having a light at Lake Street and Old Allegan, but it is not necessarily within their scope to do traffic light engineering. So just want to lower everyone's expectations ever so slightly for those items.
And Holly, I will say that we do have a sub-consultant that specializes in traffic signals, but they weren't a big part of the original scope. You know, like doing a traffic analysis, that wasn't part of the original scope. This is more of an overview and utilizing existing information. Determine whether or not we want to include traffic signals in the application and in the costs.
Okay.
Well, I have a question. What if you can't find the old traffic study? It seems like we should have some kind of traffic study, shouldn't we? Since some of the arguments 2 years ago were all about that. Coming out of Lake Street and turning on there. I remember all the, John and Richard, you'd know more, but that was part of how the blockage occurred, was traffic. That's all you heard about.
Yeah, Kathy's right. A study was done when we first retained Fleece and Vandenbrink. That was one of the first things they arranged to have done by a subcontractor. And I'm sure we have that report. We just got to dig it out.
Okay, because if we don't have it, I think we're going to have one. I mean, people will ask about that. It just seems something we can't forget.
Right. And I believe, I don't know, Craig, you may know if one was done at Old Allegan at some point in the past.
I don't think we've done one there. I can't remember if that study from Fleece and Vandenbrink included some kind of analysis of that intersection. I would say, Richard, if you can't find it, you could probably contact Fleece and they should be able to provide you another copy of it. You know, the friends are the ones that paid for that study, so.
Sure. Yeah, that shouldn't be a problem.
Okay, and I did find this on your website, Richard, this called a Blue Star Trail Feasibility Study Intersection Comparison. So there's some traffic count information and traffic signal warrants information. So I don't know if this was the study, but it's just a one-page document. So I have this. If you can find something else, that'd be appreciated.
Yep, there is a study, Larry. This is John. Could you just clarify again? I know you just said the signal is outside of your scope, but there is information available. It's possible we might want to include this as part of the plan and process for grants. What would be available to us based on the scope that you've laid out for the signal?
I guess if you can find me the information that you have, let us review it and then come back to you on that.
Okay.
Okay,
and then,
go ahead, Larry, sorry.
Yeah, we can determine if there's anything in addition that we would need.
Okay, while you all were talking, I found the traffic study from 2016 and I've sent it to you, Larry.
All right, very good.
What month was that done in? Because
It's this one. Hold on, open it up quickly.
I remember there was some discussion about whether it was really prime tourist season or off season, and all that became some of the talk.
This is memo from 2010.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there's a more updated one that was done.
Okay,
for
I'll keep digging.
for Lake Street as part of the last study.
Okay,
I don't know if it
digging.
included Allegan, but it included the Lake Street intersection.
I'll keep digging around. Thank you.
Yeah.
I just want to add a little caveat that I hope that we're looking at density of users on the road and not just cars, because that's how we have to start thinking about our roadways in an actual way, is that all users of the roadway are elevated. So we can't just engineer for cars. We have to look at moms on strollers, runners, all of that. It's my little o'clock.
Good point.
Okay, anything else?
So that was just the project management plan. I do have a couple more items, Holly.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay. So now just going back to the overall agenda. So summary of previous information alternatives. I think now we have a much better handle on the outcomes of the previous discussions and what we need to be reviewing. So I just listed them here as options 1D, 2F, the Friends 3-lane concept, and then any other ones that we develop internally or think might be warranted for further review. And then Lake Street to Old Allegan, I did notice then that those concepts went further than just Lake Street, and so up to Maple Street. So we will again include that information. And then I know I have somewhere in our documentation some of the previous planning for the Amalanchier Park and North Street alternatives. So we'll be going through those as well. And that's something we can talk about obviously at our site review. All right, I listed here alternative review process. So what's the process that we're going to do for reviewing alternatives? And I think we've more or less talked about the overall concept is we're going to review existing alternatives and develop others, bring them back to the committee for further discussion and vetting, and then make sure we get our stakeholder input, and then also recommendations to each individual board. So that's kind of my overall thought process on that. And anybody have anything to add to that? And then obviously public input as we go through as well in one form or another.
Yeah, the only thing I might say is that I think just to a layperson and to the public, there's so many designs, it's sort of difficult to keep track of, even internally among us to keep track of what we're talking about, which design. So let's think about that going forward, how we might sort of differentiate or name things so that the public understands clearly what we're talking about. Because we'll say, oh, the 3-lane, was that the earlier one? Or it just, I think we could use some delineation, just some clarity there for messaging.
Okay, and then I think we've already touched on the project-specific outreach and communication meetings, so that'll be developed as we go outside of the committee to gain input as well. Okay, and then just Monday, May 17th, 9 a.m., I'll take the question mark off. And then, so I will send a meeting invitation, Ryan, to you to distribute. And that, or do you want to send the invitation and that way you will know who responds and whether you'll have a quorum or not?
Yeah, I'll send out the invite, but I think I'll just go ahead and post that
Okay.
as a workshop just for good measure.
Maybe Nick, you should ask Rich to do the same.
I will.
Okay, and that's all I had.
Okay, great. Any other points any committee members want to make? We good? All right. Next, I'm going to ask the general public if anybody would like to weigh in on the non-motorized trail at this time, and just ask that you limit your comment to 3 minutes. Anyone? You must be very pleased. There's no, the complaint section is very quiet. I shouldn't have said that, probably. Do we have any committee member closing comments at this time? Nope. Okay. All right. If there's nothing else, can I have a motion to adjourn?
This is Marcy. I'll motion to adjourn.
Thank you. And do we have to second that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, can I get a
I'll
second?
second it.
Thanks, Kathy. And then I'll take the roll call to adjourn. Brenda Marcy,
Yes.
Kathy Meridian,
Yes.
Cindy Osmond,
Yes.
John Adams,
Yes.
Richard Donovan.
Yes.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Larry. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Bye.
And
Bye-bye.